What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse on the LCC Network for episode 9 of our off season, and we have got a mock rookie draft or rookie ranking projection so far. This is before the NFL Combine, or there's not really a Combine, but before, the pro days and everything that's going to happen. So this is a little early, but we're going to have fun with it. I've got Jordan on the show like always. What's going on, man?
What's up, everybody? Glad to be here for our little rookie show.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I always like talking about rookies.
Full disclosure, we recorded the other episode just yesterday. We're recording this Monday, but this won't be uploaded a couple days later. But anyways, we don't really have any news or notes to share with you guys because nothing's changed.
Well, I guess, once again, we'll give them the payment reminder for March
Yeah,
21st and
give
name
get
change
getting.
reminder for March 28th. I guess some NFL news and notes. I guess the big news of today was J.J. Watt signing with the Arizona
That is
Cardinals.
true.
That will become an IDP factor, whether it be for J.J. Watt or Chandler Jones on that D line.
It's gonna
But
be
so a
exciting.
little news of the day, and yeah, so it'll affect IDP for sure.
What do you think about that? I mean, who do you think is gonna benefit more, Chandler Jones or JJ? JJ's never had someone this good on the opposite end of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say. I think they put up a stat since I want to say 2012 or so. It might be a little further, but Chandler Jones is first in the NFL sacks and J.J. Watt is second. So you're putting the most prolific pass rushers over the last 5-6 years on the same team. I couldn't really determine who it would help further. I would put a little more money on it benefiting JJ just because he's a little longer in the tooth, and
Yeah,
I feel like you would still have to provide a little more attention to Chandler Jones at this point in his career. But both freak players and definitely an outstanding sign by the Arizona Cardinals.
it's going to be interesting. I'm interested to see how this impacts Isaiah Simmons, assuming he gets the playing time. Uh, for him to be relevant, because that was a big key factor in really his lack of production as a rookie, is that he really just wasn't on the field that often. But if he does play, I'm interested to see how offenses adjust to this. I feel like they're going to have to take it up the middle a little bit more, which he should benefit from, assuming he's on the field.
Oh yeah, just another hog molly to keep linemen off a rangy linebacker slash safety. So, like you said, it'll all depend on them getting Simmons on the field and deciding whether he's going to be a linebacker or a safety or not. But
Yeah,
yeah, so that's a little news for you guys.
some news and notes.
And like we said, we're recording this Monday, so if anything else major drops, sorry we
Yeah,
missed it.
watch the Ghosts of Panthers. Who knows? Throwing it out
Yeah,
there, putting it in the
let's go
universe.
for it.
Positive vibes. This is how we start the week.
And I guess a smaller tidbit would be the Washington football team is expected to part ways with Alex Smith, so potentially a new spot for Alex Smith. Don't know how fantasy relevant that's going to be, but
You think
yeah,
Carolina gets him?
no.
Yeah,
But
I feel like he's not much better than what we got. If I don't even know if he's better, honestly. I think he's probably
yeah,
worse.
yeah. Well, you ready to dive into these rookies?
Let's do it. We got our. This was supposed to be kind of a mock draft, but we got to thinking about it as like, well, we have no idea what people are going to put in for our rookie draft, and so realistically, we're going to treat it more of like a rookie ranking. But you can assume these players would kind of go get drafted in this order based off the way we value these players, at least going into 2021. And again, this is before the combine. This is before any relevant news happens with these rookies, or potential rookies in the league. So we'll see. I'm sure rankings are
Yeah,
definitely going to change over the next month.
I expect a ton of this to change. Like we said, we don't know anybody even in the league drafting in the rookie draft. We don't know where rookies are heading yet. Um, don't know situation. Some just off the top of my head, some of these quarterbacks may be higher on our list, just
Mm,
depending on where they land. But right now, this is just off of pure fantasy ability, I guess, in our opinions for early next season. So
yeah,
yeah, let's dive into it.
let's do it. Uh, and full disclosure, we don't have any sound drafts, so we're we're rolling with it with our number one, the easy consensus. I feel like at this point, before the draft and everything, Travis Etienne is the guy. He's the do it all back. We've seen it for a while. We've hyped him up for quite a while, and I feel like he's been most people's consensus rookie uh, player going into 2021. Again, without knowing where he's going to end up, because that definitely changes where he's ranked.
Yeah, I definitely love Travis. Clemson fan. I've watched it happen for 4 years. I've already named him my fantasy Valentine. So yeah, he's definitely my number one rookie. But I guess I'll go to number two. And you called Travis Etienne the consensus number one, and I don't think that's so much the case with the emergence of Najee Harris being our number two player at running back from Alabama. Um, I wrote down the same thing for him, also a do it all back and RB1 A or B, however you want to slice it. A lot of people think he's surpassing Travis Etienne. Physical runner, just like Travis, good vision, uh, good pass catching. I think a lot of the experts I've seen having Harris jump him say it has a lot to do with pass pro and a little less fantasy relevant, but whatever helps you stay on the field as a three down back. So
That's true.
yeah, we had Najee coming as our second overall player and our second running back.
Just out of curiosity, Jordan, in our league in the LCC, ETN and Harris, where do you think they go in our draft? Obviously, they're probably going to be the top two rookies picked, more than likely. But, like, what draft pick is given up to get these guys? You think it's the one?
I'm leaning it. I would not be surprised at all. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I put in a one last year for Jonathan Taylor. It's just sometimes when an elite running back is available, sometimes you have to take that chance. There's not going to be too many elite running backs available in round one of the real draft. So if you think there's a potential of a rookie happening, I feel like you have to pull that trigger and be able to potentially keep them for 3 to 4 seasons.
yeah. ETN and Harris, I feel there's more hype behind them than last year's running back class. I fully expect someone to give up an early first round pick for both of them.
Yeah, I put them both right there with Jonathan Taylor, who I had as my top back last year. The thing about these two guys that I like though is a lot less tread on the tires than Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, yes, definitely. Well, at our third slot, we got our first IDP player. We got Micah Parsons, linebacker from Penn State. Freakish range at LB that can cover a lot of ground. He's a big boy, let me tell you. I should have wrote down his size, but he's a monster, man. I feel like if you were hyped about Isaiah Simmons, you should definitely be hyped about Micah Parsons this year in the draft. He's a guy to really look out for.
Yeah, I love Micah Parsons. Like you were mentioning his size, he's 6'3", 245, and
Good God.
the guy can run like a deer. I think because of the 245 size, he's a little more solidly placed at linebacker, unlike
Yeah.
Isaiah, who was kind of a tweener. But like you said, tons of range. If you're looking for a guy that could potentially be on the field and be around the ball every single play his rookie year, I think you got to look no further than Micah.
I think you could almost argue about Micah too is that for his build, I feel like he could probably lose to Shed a good 5 pounds. I feel
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you know what
build
I
wise,
mean?
build mixed with his athletic ability, a good comparison in my head is Darius Leonard.
Yeah, that's true.
Like long, athletic, strong, and can still run. So uh, he looks to be a nice one. I mean, honestly, just speaking in real life, would love to see that guy be a Carolina Panther.
God, yeah. Are you kidding me? I would love him. If he lands in Carolina, man, that's solid. Even if we don't take a quarterback, I know a lot of Panther fans are like foaming at the mouth of us trading to get one or drafting one. But man, if we got Micah Parsons, that's just as good or maybe even better, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he has a little recruiting history with Matt Rule, and also Matt Rule being a Penn State linebacker alum himself, he may be in love.
There you go. You heard it here first. Micah
Uh,
Parsons, Carolina Panther.
All right, we'll move on down to number four, and our first wide receiver of the group. And in my opinion, this wide receiver class is loaded. But we're going to go ahead and slot Devonta Smith as the top guy. And this is just straight up respect for his season at Alabama. I mean, as a receiver, the guy came out and won the Heisman. His teammate, who's also on this list, Jalen Waddle, went down early in the year, and Devonta just stepped up to another level and carried the load. Um, the only thing I don't like about him is potentially his lack of size at the next level. He's not very big, but man, the things he does, his route running and his separation he gets from guys, you can't replicate it. So as long as he can avoid getting his head taken off, I think he's going to be a hell of a player, and he's going to have those explosive big plays like your Tyreek Hill and Deshaun Jackson type, and possibly a better route runner than those two guys himself. So
Especially at
look
the
out for
age he
Devonta.
is. I feel like he's a better route runner than they were at his age coming out of
Yeah,
college.
exactly.
Yeah,
He's a
I'm
lot more
super
polished
pumped.
coming out.
Devonta Smith is gonna make a difference somewhere. I feel like in his rookie season, and that's
Yes.
me. Like I'm one of the biggest rookie receiver haters out there. I never ever draft rookie receivers. I mean, sure, I
Yeah.
guess if Devonta Smith lands in the wrong place, I may kind of avoid him. But I again, I'm super high on him this year.
Yeah. Yeah. I like him a lot too.
Next up, we've got Jamar Chase out of LSU, very long, explosive running back coming out of college, or not running back, receiver, sorry. But kind of forgotten about due to opting out. And I had basically forgotten about Chase as well until Jordan reminded me about him. This is a guy that probably most people actually were considering as the number one receiver heading into 2020 in the college season up until, Devonta Smith exploded. And it kind of hurt Chase in some ways, in my opinion. But, he still has his pro day to show out. And I think Chase can kind of make up ground for that. But we'll see kind of what that does to his draft stock.
Yeah, we talked about this before the episode. My personal opinion, Jamar Chase is the best receiver in the draft, and I think he will make an immediate impact, much like his former teammate Justin Jefferson. But yeah, like you mentioned it, I just feel like he was forgotten about due to not playing. But he was the number one receiver on what we saw in an all-time offense at LSU the previous season when they took out my Clemson Tigers for the national championship. But this guy had 1,700 yards and 20 touchdowns in 2019. 20 touchdowns was a
Mm.
school record and maybe a SEC record if I'm not mistaken, but just 1,700 yards and 20 touchdowns in a season. And I believe he caught about 80 balls, so it was about a 20-yard average per catch. Just extremely explosive. Just I feel like the only Devonta Smith winning the Heisman really was the only thing I felt that could happen for Jamar Chase not to go number one. But my honest opinion, it's just a whole case of out of sight, out of mind with him. And he's going to remind people real quick.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely will. You're up next, Jordan.
All right, and our next player is a running back, and this will be the third running back off the board. And I like him too, but Javonte Williams of North Carolina. I know our boy Daquan likes him a lot, but I got to watch him a lot just being a fan of the ACC. Man, he really came on. They have two really good backs, but this guy, he is physical and explosive. I'm pretty sure he was in the top two or three in overall broken tackles in all of NCAA last year. So the guy does not go down easy.
He's a
And
tank.
yeah, and uh, he's pretty good in pass catching situations, which you might not expect for such a physical guy, but he gets it done. And I'm really impressed by him. And if it weren't for how elite those two other guys were, he'd have some conversations of being a really high player taken not only in fantasy but in the real NFL draft.
Yeah, for sure. I like him a lot. I'm interested to see where he goes. He's definitely more my. I've always been a power back guy, and I know there's um they're kind of going away, and the NFL level at least. Maybe not so much in college football, but I love a guy who's going to lower his shoulder. That's like my favorite type of running back to watch on TV.
Yeah, I mean if they're going to be out there now, they kind of have to be a do it both type of guy. And he is that. He brings explosiveness with his physicality. You know, even Derrick Henry shows the ability to run away from somebody every now and then. So
Yeah, he does.
he's a nice blend for sure.
We got our we have our third receiver. This is crazy.
Yeah, I
I
mean, I said it when we mentioned Vonta. Like, this may be the deepest receiver class in quite some time.
probably since the AJ Green class and Mike Evans. I that was like one of the deepest we've ever seen. Probably the
Yeah,
deepest. And this is I feel like might be one of them too. Jalen Waddle here from Alabama, another explosive receiver ahead of Smith early on at least. And if it wasn't for the injury, we're looking at a guy who may have done a lot better in some instances. So again, Waddle's a guy that I'm super excited about. Jordan's excited about, and I think he could end up landing on a team where he makes an impact pretty early on too.
yeah. I mean, yet another stud, and the only reason he's getting overshadowed once again is Smith winning the Heisman. But a lot of people didn't realize before Waddle's injuries, he led Alabama in every receiving stat there was, and no doubt in my mind, Smith would have unfortunately not won that Heisman. I'm not saying he wouldn't have had an excellent year, but just with Jalen Waddle putting up even better numbers than him and splitting his numbers, no way it would have happened. But
Exactly.
yeah, just another playmaker. Maybe route running wise, maybe the best route runner out of all of them. Um, but really impressive guy.
For sure.
But
You got one of the
yeah,
hardest names to pronounce,
yeah,
Jordan.
we'll
Here you
go
go.
down to the next one. We got our next IDP player, another rangy linebacker. I'm going to butcher his name, but his name is Jeremiah Uwusawu Kamaramu. He's the linebacker from Notre Dame. Um, Another ACC guy that I got to see a lot of, but a lot like Parsons, man, excellent range, and he's the one that I compare more to Isaiah Simmons and our boy Jeremy Chin in Charlotte. He's just his size wise, he's more of an in between. Depending on who's going to draft him, do you like him at safety or do you like him at linebacker? And I think he can be a playmaker at either level, but it's just going to depend on which team takes him and where they want to stick him to really gauge his where he's really ranked at. But I mean, athleticism out the wazoo, man. Like this is going to be one of the ones that is running with the Kamaras and McCaffreys of the world, trying to cover him downfield. But I'm a really big fan of him.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that's I don't know, man. I think he could be Chin. I mean, that's I don't know, setting a bar pretty high. I feel like for
Yeah,
a Swiss Army knife at defense, but Jeremiah is a guy who's definitely gonna turn some heads. I feel like,
definitely has that chin athleticism.
yeah, he
We'll
does.
we'll see if it determines. And so yeah, you got the next one, and
I do.
by this point, you can see what we were doing with the quarterbacks. Finally, some quarterbacks coming in.
Yeah, we were about to go on a QB run, everyone. Starting it off, you got to say it, Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from Clemson, held as one of the best college QBs of the past decade, a consistent number one pick in the NFL draft for most people. If we're going with a guy who's going to be starting from day one, more than likely it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. You got to go. You got to go with him. I feel like and assume that he is a guy worth drafting in a lot of dynasty formats and in our league where we have a rookie draft. He's definitely a guy to look at this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for a rookie quarterback, I mean, he's it. There, there's potentially some other good guys out there, but if you're just playing percentages wise, I would go with Trevor. Just for comparison, I would say coming out last year, Justin Herbert won Rookie of the Year and is looking like a real option at quarterback moving forward. No offense to him, but just last year, I would compare more Justin Herbert to a more of a great value brand Trevor Lawrence. So if that, I mean, and Justin proved me a little more wrong with his rookie year, but if that's the case, I expect Trevor Lawrence to be good early and throughout his career.
Yeah, he's a guy. Even if you don't like Clemson, me, and you're not a Trevor Lawrence fan, you can't say that he's not going to be fantasy relevant from day one.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, Jordan, you got our next
And
QB.
yep, the run continues, guys. And the next one we're going with this was a little more difficult going down there after Trevor, but I'm gonna roll with Justin Fields as the next one, quarterback at Ohio State. Um, he had the limited season in the Big Ten this past year, but still performed well. Made the playoffs the last 2 years, including taking out my Tigers in the playoffs. Um, Showed up big in big games. One thing I like about Justin for the next level is he's really should turn in to one of these guys that's a dual threat, which is always a bigger advantage in fantasy leagues. I mean, when they're throwing the ball well and then they just whether it's sprinkle in 50, 60 yards rushing, maybe sneak a rushing touchdown in. I just feel like that's huge, and he's got that type of body and he's got that type of athleticism, and I think he's going to make plays. And he's one that I really think he's going to fluctuate with what offense he lands in because if he gets to the right people, I feel like he can take off.
Oh, without a doubt, he Fields is he's pretty exciting, man. That athleticism alone, I think, is what puts him so high up there for me as a quarterback. He's
Yeah,
and again, I mean, he didn't even play a full Big Ten schedule or full college schedule, that is, for that matter. But he still showed up, man. His stats were still very gaudy. I mean, they were great. I love Fields. I think he's going to be solid.
yeah. The biggest thing I learned about him, seeing him play against Clemson 2 years in a row, the guy is one tough cookie, bro. Like he ate shots in both those games that no normal quarterbacks get up from. You know what I mean? Like
Oh yeah,
we probably hit him 3 or 4 times, and in my head, I'm like, oh, that guy's not going to want any more of that. And he's a dog. He comes back for it every time. But so it'll be important to see where he goes as a rookie, and that's mostly the case with all these rookie quarterbacks. Coaching staffs are so key. I mean, that could be keys to guys' career. I mean, Trevor
uh,
Lawrence could be the next Peyton Manning, but the coaching staff is going to have a lot to do with whether he lives up to that or not.
yeah.
So
All right,
moving
I got our next quarterback from the opposite in the country here. We got Trey Lance from North Dakota State University. He's a pure athlete, tons of potential. Even though he did play for a small school, one of the best FCS schools he could possibly play at, and dominated. A lot of upside, like we said, and really might be ready for the NFL level sooner than people think, especially playing in a pro style offense. Trey Lance is a guy that he's got that size you're looking for in an athlete in today's modern game. He's a guy who's built big enough to where he can take a hit and turn the ball upfield when you need him to. So Trey Lance is going to be very interesting. I feel like he's kind of the wild card in some ways of this quarterback class.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Trey Lance. I mean, if our Carolina Panthers take a quarterback at 8, I think this is the guy I want. Um, Another dual threat guy like we talked about with Justin. So I like that. Great athlete at the quarterback position. I like the pro style offense that you mentioned. I've read some articles with the North Dakota State head coach. He takes pride in huddling up with 11 guys, and he doesn't believe in looking over at cards on the sidelines, as he likes to say. And so Trey Lance is used to calling out a full play to 10 other grown men and checking from a run to a pass or to a pass to a run at the line of scrimmage. So he might be doing it at a small school, but his numbers before the pandemic, the season before the pandemic, I believe he had something like 26 touchdowns and 0 picks. And I don't care if you're playing Spartanburg High School like 12 games. If you don't throw a single pick the whole year, like that's impressive to me. So I'm interested to see how quickly he can pick up the speed of the NFL game. But I think he's got it in between the ears. Like he seems like a smart guy.
Yeah, I really love. I agree with you. If we ended up getting Trey Lance, if we're getting a quarterback, I like this pick. I think it's better than some of the other quarterbacks we may end up talking about tonight. Especially two other guys. I'm hoping we don't get that early, but you never know, I guess. But yeah, Trey Lance is a solid fantasy quarterback.
Yeah. All right, you got the next guy?
Actually, I think I had Trey Lance. Did I not? I think you're up.
Oh, my bad. I guess I just started gushing over him. Uh, so we're going to round it out with another quarterback on this quarterback carousel run we're on. But I know a lot of people have this guy a lot higher, and most people have him above Trey Lance and Justin Fields. I just personally haven't brought myself to like him like that. But it's Mr. Zach Wilson, quarterback of BYU. He has a strong arm. He's mobile. Probably the most accurate quarterback of the 2020 season. Definitely puts it on his guys' numbers. He was electric in the big games that BYU did play in. But yeah, the guy just runs all over the field and slings the ball up. Uh, he's a nice little gunslinger. Uh, I just haven't became the biggest fan of him yet, but he could prove me wrong really quick. And the biggest key for him is that accuracy, which is usually the biggest key for a guy to be successful at the NFL level. Most of these accuracy guys you talk about don't have all the tools that he has. So if he does display that accuracy at the NFL level, he could be a lot better than I think and put some humble pie in my mouth.
Yeah, I think Zach Wilson. He couldn't win the big game. Mormons versus Mullets, BYU versus Coastal. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to necessarily hold that against him. But yeah, I think Zach is a little further down the list. I'm hoping Carolina doesn't get him. But he still could be a decent fantasy option by default, depending on where he ends up. So I'm not opposed to drafting Zach Wilson or anyone drafting him. But again, it's really gonna come down to where does he go.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely needs the right situation, in my opinion.
Our next guy we're getting out of the quarterbacks for a little bit. We got Terrence Marshall, the wide receiver from LSU. He's a big guy, 6'3", over 200 pounds. Jordan, he almost reminds me of a more athletic Kelvin Benjamin in some regards coming out of college, which is a good thing. We
Yeah, I
all know
would
what
definitely
happened
call
to.
him way more athletic.
Yeah, he's a little bit shorter. He's more athletic. Terrence Marshall, I think he can be solid. It's going to be interesting though because there's so many other receivers in this draft. He could end up in a place where maybe he's not going to get the targets you really want out of a guy you're willing to spend an early draft pick on in a rookie draft.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
definitely someone who could be good later on.
yeah. He's got a ton of skill, and like you said, huge body. I think he could fit in somewhere nice. Like you said, his situation will depend on whether he produces as a rookie, but great movement for his size and stuff. I see maybe like a little heavier AJ Green or a little lighter DK Metcalf, but yeah, I think he's going to be a nice playmaker, and the situation is going to determine how early he makes those plays.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Jordan, you're up.
But yeah, we're going to swing back to the defensive side of the ball, and this is our first true defensive back of the group. I know we said, especially the Notre Dame linebacker, it could be a possible tweener and go to safety. But this is our first true safety, and this is Richie Grant from Central Florida, and he's a playmaking athlete. Made plays all over the Central Florida defense this past year. What I love for him is he's got a nose for the ball, uh, great at creating turnovers. One off season factor we already know for a guy like this is he did participate in the Senior Bowl and was pretty much the defensive MVP of the Senior Bowl practices. And I believe he even secured two turnovers in the Senior Bowl game. So showing you it even against more elite competition. So I'm excited about Richie Grant. And just a little inside nugget, when Matt Rule was asked about a player he could take from his entire Senior Bowl roster and drop him on the Panthers roster, he immediately said Richie Grant. So that tells you what Matt Rule thinks of him.
Yeah, he's Richie Grant, man. He's gonna be good. Does he remind you of Jabril Peppers a little bit when he came out of college?
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, that's a pretty good comparison. And Jabril's turned into a hell of a player too. I mean,
Yeah, I love Jabril.
he's just at a little smaller school.
Yeah, maybe like a poor guy's Jabril, honestly.
Yeah,
Next up, we got Tony. Sorry, I almost said Coney. A wide receiver, very quick guy that could get touches in the slot or even backfield. You know, we've seen that, I feel like, in some instances in the NFL here recently where receivers are kind of being used as a running back in situational plays, right? Not an every down back, but a guy who could definitely get behind the line and maybe shoot up the middle or go to the outside. A very quick guy. And he's almost kind of like a Swiss Army knife in some regards. I think that Tony could be very interesting where he goes. Curtis Samuel was a comparison Jordan wrote down, and that's kind of what I was getting at there. Same with Tyreek Hill. He's an athlete, to say the least, but he's not getting the same looks that some of the other receivers that we've mentioned. So look at him, someone on your radar, but I definitely wouldn't run out there and necessarily have to spin a pick on him.
yeah. I think he's nice. He's got a nice blend of to be a smaller guy with such quickness. He's got that power kind of where once he catches it, he basically turns into a running back like the Curtis Samuel comparison that you just mentioned. Um, and I'm a fan of guys like that, the small ones that uh, you aren't too aware of, but when you get up on them, they might run through your face. So yeah, I think if he lands in a good spot with a nice offensive coordinator that knows how to get him in open space, look out for Tony.
Tony the Tiger.
Yeah, Tony the Gator, but hey. But next we got another IDP linebacker, Xavier Collins, linebacker from Tulsa. And this guy, he is a little more traditional box linebacker. I guess you would call him run stuffing linebacker. He's gonna gobble run tackles up, man. Like this guy gets after it. I mean, in a shortened 2020 season, he had 54 tackles, but in the two previous seasons at Tulsa, he had 97 tackles and 85 tackles. But you want to talk about size? This guy's 6'4", 260 pounds. Uh, that guy
He
is more of
big.
a, oh yeah, I'm going to fill this gap and hit whoever comes through it type of linebacker. So if you're looking for one of those, I would recommend him.
He's big. He's a big guy. I not the type of person you want to run into in a back alley. He would snap you in half.
Yeah, and I mean, he still runs pretty well. I think he will. NFL teams will try to test him in pass coverage early, but I think he's going to have no problem getting after the run game.
Our next guy that we got is Kenneth Gainwell from Memphis, running back. Pass catcher is kind of what you think of when you look at him. He's a guy who's got hands, PPR format that is dream come true. We'll see kind of how he gets used in the NFL because there's so many. I feel like there's so many pass catching running backs already in the league. We'll see. He might be more of a situational back early on in his career and develop more into an every down back. But I think Gainwell can definitely be a solid, relevant running back in certain situations in fantasy leagues. Maybe like if a guy goes down, he's someone you could definitely play.
Yeah, I agree with that. And situation will be big for him too. You know, he's got to go to a place that needs a running back. Um, but with that pass catching ability, he's gonna find himself in situations where he could help in more areas as a rookie. So if he lands in a good spot, maybe. I've seen a few experts compare him to who's the guy? Why Antonio Gibson,
Mm-hmm.
the Washington running back. So a role kind of like that, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, so we'll see where he lands, but keep an eye out.
I will. I will indeed.
But next we got another linebacker. This is linebacker Nick Bolton of Missouri. He's a quick linebacker that can cover the field when needed. Played against the best backs in college football, being from the SEC. Um, Hard hitter. You know, I got some of his numbers right here. Last year, he had 74 solo tackles and 103 total tackles, with 8.5 tackles for loss and two interceptions. So that proves he was all over the tackle game and still found the time to steal two interceptions in pass coverage. So definitely a player to look out for. And he may, well, I know a couple players ago we had Xavier Collins, and he may work his way above Xavier Collins, just being able to cover more. But yeah, Nick Bolton, he can find himself in a good defense, and he's shown that he can get to speedy players.
Yeah, he's a guy I'd written down when we were doing this. And he's smaller size, so I think there is potential for him to be a guy who gets behind the backfield really quick because of that speed he has.
Yeah,
Our next guy is Quiddy Payne from Michigan, defensive end, 6'4", 270. Listed as a defensive tackle, but kind of on the smaller size for that, especially with that height. He should be pushing more 300 with that kind of build, which makes me think maybe he plays more of an edge rusher role in some instances. Great lateral agility, but lacks the speed of a true speed rusher. So it's going to be interesting to see how Quiddy gets used in the NFL. But definitely someone who should be looked at if you're looking for a rookie defensive lineman.
yeah. the first defensive lineman on our list, and I think that kind of shows the lack of defensive linemen in this draft. I'm not a fan of the defensive line talent or depth in this draft. Um, Somebody will surprise us and be way better than we expected. It happens every single year. But just looking at it, I really don't see any impactful defensive linemen, especially in their rookie season. But we were trying to just stretch for if there was going to be one and you were looking for a rookie defensive lineman. But yeah, he's there, and I think it speaks just to more the lack of talent at that position. But if you're really looking for one, he's your guy.
All right, Jordan, you got our last quarterback up.
All right, last quarterback on the list. He wasn't quite good enough to make that run for us. And definitely my least favorite quarterback of the quarterbacks being spoken about. But that's quarterback of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Mac Jones, and put together a really strong season. Numbers were crazy. Uh, Had a nice performance in the college football playoffs. Just played a strong arm. Not the conventional athlete that most of these modern quarterbacks are coming out. You made a note that he's really tough, which I agree with. He was at the Senior Bowl and he sprained the ankle, and I'm pretty sure he didn't play in the game because of that sprained ankle, but he finished practice that day, which I was impressed with. Uh, yeah, I think he's definitely the most system dependent guy. If he goes somewhere with weapons all over the place and a good offensive line, then yeah, I could see Mac Jones covering people up. But just with the lack of athleticism, I think he's going to struggle a little bit more than all the other guys. And being with guys like Jalen Waddle and the Heisman winner Devonta Smith, I think really took the burden off of him in his first and only year starting at Alabama. Not that he didn't ball out, but
Yeah,
you're not going to have the top five superior guys on the field when you get to the NFL. Uh, but yeah, that's my impression of Mac Jones. Not too crazy of him, but heck, if he, I don't even know a good say he lands in Indianapolis and um, Carson Wentz goes down, I could really see him putting up numbers or something. But it's going to take something like that, I think.
yeah, I agree. I mean, definitely not a guy that I would want my team drafting, like NFL team drafting in the first round necessarily. I really see him more as a second round quarterback. Some people might think I'm crazy for saying that, but
I
not.
I agree 100% with you, man. And I've seen articles that are predicting the Panthers to
I hope
trade
not.
up to number three
Oh,
overall
God.
to draft this guy.
Dude, he is gonna be there. Trust me.
And I would be
Later on.
livid. Number three? Are you kidding me?
I agree, man. I'd be pretty upset with that. I definitely would be.
I mean, he had a great year, man. But I mean, I feel like Uncle Rico could have went to the playoffs with him.
Dude, that we just, I mean, think about it. We got two receivers from that team on our list. I mean, that says enough right there.
And his running back is the number two overall on the list.
Yeah. So I mean, don't get me wrong. Mac Jones could be good, like
Yeah.
Jordan said. Like people surprise us all the time. Me personally, I'd much rather go with someone else that we've listed. For an NFL team, I would pick any of those other quarterbacks we've listed up to this point before I would Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Maybe not Zach Wilson. I like Zach Wilson more for fantasy because he is a little more athletic. But for the NFL, I would take Mac Jones over Zach Wilson.
I'm rolling Zach. Give me that Mormon.
Give me that Mormon. Oh man! All right, I guess I'll cover our one of our last guys. We're not quite at the end, but we got Kyle Pitt, our first tight end on the list from Florida.
Oh, there's an S on
Pitts.
the.
There we go. Pitts. By far the best tight end. Excellent inline receiver, and really could turn into more of like a Kelsey, Darren Waller type deal. I mean, he's very athletic. Kyle Pitts is a guy, depending on where he goes, could be relevant from day one. and that's hard to do for a tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I like Kyle Pitts. I mean, he's got his skill set. You might as well list him at receiver. It's just they're gonna tell him to stand in a different spot. But I think he could easily come up and put those Kelsey slash Waller slash old Gronk numbers. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just he would. He's almost like a wide receiver at a just a lesser position. So, but at some point, if you're looking for a receiver, to just think of Kyle Pitts as one.
All right, Jordan, you got our. Is this our last receiver? No, we got one more after this. Then we're
Yeah,
done with
here's
receiver.
another receiver in this loaded class that we been talking about, but it's Rashad Bateman of Minnesota Golden Gopher. But he's a real nice guy, big receiver, strong hands, 6'2", 210, plays the X position, which is like the outside position for your bigger bodies. But he really showed the ability to run good routes and really out physical guys that he didn't quite get separation from. Um, but definitely a go up and get it physical receiver. Not as athletic, but you can pretty much say he's in kind of a DJ Moore body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, pretty thick guy. But yeah, I'm a fan of Bateman.
Yeah, I like Bateman. I mean, at this point in our receiver list, these are guys that like I'm not super thrilled to get in fantasy, but I definitely think they're gonna be relevant in the NFL at some point, in some way or the other. But I mean, they could be way more relevant depending on the team they end up on.
Yeah,
And then our last receiver we got is Tylan Wallace out of Oklahoma State. He's a 50 ball guy. I mean, I'm trying to think. I really don't know much about Tylan Wallace. Jordan, you know a little bit more about him than I do. Um,
yeah,
uh,
he's pretty good, man. I would definitely describe him as a possession receiver, but great, like you said, at going and getting those 50-50 balls. Um, I mean, I can't think of too many other guys in the country that are better than him at high pointing and things like that in college. But he had over 3,000 yards in his college career. Not very good quarterback play at Oklahoma State. So just a go get it type receiver that could really, I feel like, have a better NFL career than his college career due to who was throwing him the football in college. But yeah, he could really make some noise in the right place.
yeah. Um, oh, Jordan, you got the next one, I guess, or I guess I can since you basically talked about Tylan.
Whatever you need.
Jamar Jefferson, running back from Oregon State, at 5'10", 216. This man is like a train when you're trying to tackle him. I mean, he is a big boy. And I feel like we haven't seen like a big running back come out of Oregon State in a while. Not Oregon, Oregon State, the Beaver School, as they're known as. I'm again, I like these big boy running backs. They're up my alley. And Jamar Jefferson's a guy who I love. I really can't wait to see him in the NFL. I don't know how many looks he's really going to get though. But who knows? Maybe due to injuries, we see it all the time, especially at the running back position. Jefferson might be able to shine a little bit.
Yeah, uh, I like him, and I actually randomly caught a few Oregon State games, and I was really impressed by his running style. And he's one of the guys that I don't know if it will correlate, but if it does correlate, he's going to be a running back that we look up in 5 years and we'll be like, wow, he was really a nice one. But yeah, we'll just see if he can keep that physicality at the next level.
Yeah,
But I guess this will round out our whole list for the night. But we're gonna have it ending off with second North Carolina running back on this list. So shout out to the Tar Heels for having two backs. But Michael Carter of North Carolina, he was more the second back in their system. He's the smaller back. He's about 5'8", 200 pounds. So he's a little undersized, but he is a plus receiver. We said, who's the other? I'm blanking on the other UNC back. Williams.
Mm-hmm.
We said he's a good receiver. Michael Carter might be an even better receiver, which is good for him. But you know, Drayton receiving, he's more of a one cut guy, I would say. I mean, he's gonna pick his direction and go, and he's gonna get what he can get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe he can fall in a good situation. I don't even see a situation where he would start this year, but definitely a skill set to maybe where you can get him really late or even out of waiver wire at some point and abide your time type of back. But yeah, he can really give a boost to the PPR if he gets some playing time.